Well, I'll just chat while we're waiting for people. I can see that people are joining us more and more. First of all, thank you. Happy Easter to everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I'm very conscious that it is Easter Monday, so people are giving a bit of time on their bank holiday, but the webinar programme was very, very full. So it was important that we just kept to the diary that we've generated, and that we start. And poor Jayant, who's supporting everybody doing their webinars, he's in the background helping everybody. So bless him, I've managed to get him today. Just while we're waiting as well, I thought I'd just, I've put on some of my favourite diamond pieces. Today I'm wearing my angel. I don't know if you can all see that. This is my little Tiffany angel. I think it's a cross, but I felt somehow that the symbolism was very appropriate. So I've put that on at the moment. It means a great deal to me. I'm also wearing some other diamond pieces, my little dragonfly earrings. I bought these, gosh, 20 years ago. But one of the things that I think we're really appreciating at the moment is nature, and I think it was very important to wear these and look at the world around us. And like somebody was saying, we can take a breath at the moment and listen to the world. And I think jewellery and nature is going to be a very important theme going forward. Thank you also as well. I'm getting a lot of really lovely feedback about these webinars. It's really nice to hear your views. I know people are sharing their opinions and sharing this contact and link with people. I hope it provides a lot of support for sales professionals or other colleagues in the industry. So it's really great that this is something useful for everybody at the moment. Also, at the end of this webinar, I'm going to introduce you to and follow up on rainbow gems. We've had quite a reaction to that, which has been fantastic. And I've got a bit of an update, which I think is really exciting. Big shout out and thanks to Hannah Buckle, who's put a lot of work in developing the theme. And she's come up with some amazing resources. So that's really nice. Well, we'll count down. We'll start absolutely on time at 11 o'clock. Delighted that we're actually working properly this time. The slides look like they're all good to go. So we should have a lovely session this morning. So let's make a start. Let's shut up my mobile. Hello everybody, and welcome to this morning's webinar called Understanding Diamonds. So I'm very lucky in that what I've done over many years is I have been able to not work slides. That's what I've not been able to do. There we go. I'm very fortunate. As you can see, I've done a lot of studying. I have an art history degree. I've done my gemology. I've done my diamond grading. I've done management qualifications. But what I've tried to do is that took a lot of years of work. And what I've tried to do today is to take the essence of it all and distill what I hope is relevant information to just give an introduction to understanding diamonds. I'd be grateful if you could use your buttons and post your questions throughout. If I can't answer them, there's other people, esteemed colleagues here, who I know will be able to. This video will be available afterwards. It will be accessed via my website and be recorded on YouTube. But it's very much the start. It's a continual story. And this is very much to layer in anticipation for Thursday's webinar, which I'm doing with the National Association of Jewellers. And that's about selling diamonds. So this was about giving a platform. And this is an example of some of the other webinars that I'm going to be doing, mainly on a Monday. But as I said before, the agenda is up to you. I'll respond to what you want and what you want to see developing. Looking forward to doing some with the Company of Master Jewellers as well, talking about management, and hopefully later on we'll be looking at what we're going to do when we go back to work. But today we're going to take the opportunity of this lockdown and take the time to understand a little bit more about diamonds. I think it's important, as I say, to take this opportunity to listen and learn. And for me, in terms of diamonds, it's about when you're positioning them to sell, it's having some of the bits of information at your disposal. So, for example, thinking about learning about where diamonds were found, how long have we known about them? Well, we've known about them since about the 4th century BC, when we found them in a river or alluvial deposits in India. But it was many years before diamonds were really understood and before the cutting process would begin. And that was much later, sort of 15th and 16th century. But at about that time, we find the first ever engagement ring. And this was in the union of Mary of Burgundy with Archduke Maximilian of Austria. Bit of a political, bit of a romantic match as well, we perceive. But here is the first known diamond engagement ring. And the diamonds are used to spell out her initial M in this. Up till today, we know that diamonds are found all over the world. We've got Russia, Botswana, Australia, and Canada are the largest producers. I think just getting a bit of context and a little bit of history is really helpful when you are positioning diamonds with your customers. It helps give your customers some other piece of information. But I'm passionate that we can't go forward until we look back. And it's great to understand that historically, diamonds were the preserve of the dominant, the powerful, and royalty. So they were very much a symbol of strength, courage, and invincibility. But today that's changed. And if you think 200 years ago, the classes like us would never have had access to a diamond at all. And here I've shown you a picture of a shop front. We all perhaps own a piece of diamond jewellery, no matter what size, but diamonds are hugely accessible to us. And perhaps this was very much due to, in the 19th century, the finding of the primary source of diamonds, which is a pipe mine, which then in relative terms flooded the market with stones. But they've gone from being a symbol of power to now being the ultimate symbol of love. And as well as looking at the physical, chemical, and optical properties of a diamond, I also want to explore that today. Now, these slides are illustrated throughout, and I'm very grateful to my lovely friends in the industry. Shout out to Lee from Gemex and Bernard Ungar, who have provided me with some wonderful illustrations of their collections. And I'm going to show you some of the pieces that when I was selling were certainly some of the most popular. But why is it that diamonds are used for an engagement ring? What is this association? For me, it goes back to the very definition of a diamond. A gemstone, by definition, is rare, durable, and beautiful. And in many ways, the diamond is the ultimate of these factors. Now, this is also, for me, a very useful definition to put in context laboratory-grown diamonds. If by diamonds being laboratory grown, you can control the supply, they are not rare. Physically, chemically, and optically, a lab-grown diamond is the same as a natural diamond, but it is not a gemstone. And I find that a very useful definition to help me put it into context. And this is where natural diamonds are formed. You can see, for example, a diamond pipe mine. They are so rare because they are formed miles below the surface of the earth. This is perhaps a better illustration. You can see them being formed below the surface of the earth. They come up through this diamond pipe mine, and then they appear on the top of the earth. Now, what's incredible is that a diamond in its state is stable in all three of those different conditions, miles below, in the transportation, and on the earth's surface as well. So they're formed in diamond pipes millions, billions of years ago. They really are a phenomenon. And then, of course, think about getting them out. It's not easy. Their extraction is difficult and costly. I've given you an example here of 3 different types of extraction from 3 different places. They are notoriously difficult to find. And just think, for just 1 carat of a diamond, you have to process 250 tons of ore. So again, think about the cost implications. Now, this slide, please don't be scared by this. I love this slide. This shows the durability of the diamond. Diamonds are the hardest naturally occurring gemstone or substance known to exist. In fact, its very name comes from the Greek meaning adamus, meaning unconquerable. But as well as being physically strong, they're also chemically very resistant. Now I'm going to show you my little model here. I love this. I did this in my GEMA course. So this is the tetrahedral covalent bonding of a carbon atom forming a diamond. But this is a fantastic little model. It tells me everything I need to know about a diamond. But I'm just going to show you one thing, and I'm going to come up very close because I hope you can see it. But can you see when I show you the model this way, can you see that it's very, very open? That's probably a better illustration there. You see it's very open. And then as I turn it around, it closes. Open, close, open, close. And what this is showing is a phenomenon called differential hardness. It's showing you that from one direction, diamonds are stronger than another. And if you think about it, how on earth would a diamond be cut? Well, it can only be cut because one plane of atomic weakness relative to another much stronger. So you would put a stronger side next to a soft, relatively softer, and move around. So diamond cutting is a completely different skill. But that shows you more about this property of hardness. But look how strong and hard a diamond is. It's number 10 on Mohs scale, but look how much harder that is than its next relative counterpart, corundum, at 9. So this hardness really is incredible. But as well as hardness, we've also got beauty. And I think we're going to look at the 4 C's, but I want to go beyond that. A secret to a diamond's beauty is fire, its brilliance, its luster, and its transparency. So let's explore some of those. In order to do that, though, we need to navigate around a diamond, because a faceted diamond is doing many different performances, many different parts of its function. If you look at the girdle, which is the widest part of the diamond, anything above that we call a crown, anything below that is a pavilion. And each one of these is doing something special and something different. The crown, the area above the girdle, is acting like a giant prism that you're seeing illustrated here. It's breaking up the light into the spectral colours of the rainbow. And then the area below the girdle, the pavilion, now that's acting like a big mirror. We'll do that shape like that. So that's allowing the light to come in and return to the surface of the stone. And you can see here how ideally we'd want to maximise that return. But as well as the fire and the brilliance, you've also got luster. And luster is the surface reflection. These atoms are very, very densely and tightly packed, and that allows us to get incredible polish and finish on the stone. That in turn is allowing this mirror-like reflection. So imagine that actually of the light that falls onto the stone, it goes in, it gets split, but 17% of it also bounces back to us as well. But not only that, the diamond is the most transparent of all the crystalline materials. It allows us to look deep inside it and really see their beauty. So let's return to the conventional 4 C's. I think this is a fantastic way of us understanding and navigating and learning about a diamond. I would just caveat, however, that there is a man-made system imposed onto a natural gemstone, but it does really give us clues to unlock all the incredible properties it has. First of all, the weight, which we denote by its carat. It's the unit of gemstone of a weight. Now, I've given you an illustration there because it comes from the seeds of the carob tree, and that was used because they were very, very constant weight. If you imagine that 1 carat is 1/5 of a gram, and looking at the illustration, you can see that 1 carat we break down into 100 points. Now, the weight of a gemstone is really interesting because the heavier the diamond, the higher the price, but it's on a non-linear scale. So, for example, a diamond that is twice the size is more than twice the price because it's more than twice as rare. You will also get certain peaks. So for example, at 1/2 carat or the magic 1 carat, due to demand, the price will go up. Clarity is freedom from inclusions and blemishes. Now, just like us all, we're not all perfect. We all have inclusions, we all have flaws. It is harder to find a stone without natural inclusions or growth marks or that characteristic growth conditions. So what we're looking for in the clarity and what is prized is the freedom from inclusions and blemishes. Need to caveat that this is graded on 10 times magnification. So a flawless diamond could have inclusions which you could see at a greater magnification, but the industry standard is 10. So by definition, a clarity, we're looking at the freedom from inclusions. Those are the characteristics inside of the stone, and blemishes, which are surface characteristics. I thought I'd just show you some pictures. I mean, aren't these gorgeous? Look at this, including crystals, clouds and feathers, and some example of surface characteristics. So you might get scratches or polishing lines caused by fighting against that atomic structure, and you can see the grains there. But one quite desirable blemish is a natural, and that is a feature that you would have seen on the octahedral crystal, and it's actually been exposed and illustrated here on the girdle. So when we're looking at grading, as I say, through a loupe or through a microscope, we're thinking of about 5 different factors. We're thinking about how many inclusions are in there, how big are they, where are they, what type are they, what colour they are. And then from that information, we get this framework. And this is your clarity grading system, going from flawless to imperfect. So flawless. If you imagine a qualified diamond grader will look in and at 10 times magnification will not see any inclusions or blemishes. Very, very small inclusions are very, very difficult for a qualified diamond grader to see. And then you've got very small, so you put the loop on, you can start to see them. Slightly included, the moment that you put your loop on, you immediately notice them. And then imperfect means that without magnification, they are visible to the naked eye. A couple of little points, just to think that at no point can you ever sell a flawless diamond ring. And that's because during the setting process, the diamond may have a scratch. I think that's a really nice way to think about how the system works. But of course, because it's more desirable to have a gemstone with fewer inclusions and blemishes, there are treatments. These are rejected when they are not disclosed. An example to show you here is laser drilling, when at a microscopic level you drill down into the stone, remove the inclusion and potentially fill that hole with highly refractive glass, which you can see on the side here. This is where it's important to remember that all grading of diamonds is done without the stones being set. If you imagine this stone were in a collet or a rub over set, it's much easier to see those three lines, but on the table, they just look like three dots. So it's always important that we can think about the conditions in which a diamond was graded. It's also therefore to think about the colour. And again, this time we've got two different scales. We've got the degree of whiteness and the intensity or rarity of the fancy colour. I've just tried to illustrate there, we grade colour face down, and that's so that we don't get the phenomenon of brilliance, which of course will dazzle you a little bit and improve the appearance of the stone. So we grade it face down. I've just tried to show you where we look for the colour. That's just slightly above the girdle, where we're expecting the deepest saturation. We're looking at the colourless scale, first of all, starting from D, moving progressively down the alphabet down to Z. We compare these against a set of master stones. For those of you that saw the rainbow gems, I talked a lot about why we see colour and how we see colour differently. So it's important that we have a constant. We use north-facing daylight in the northern hemisphere, and that's to remove any of the yellow light. And the value increases with the absence of the colour. So all things being equal, the closer to D, the relatively more valuable the stone would be. You move down the alphabetical scale, but the difference increases between each grade. So D to E is smaller than the difference between D, E and F. But it's important again to remember this is a natural gemstone. So nature just doesn't throw out a pure D, it's a continuum scale. So therefore we need the consistency of the master stones, and also to put our work in context, you would need another grader to check the work, especially, or check your grading, especially at the higher levels when it can be difficult to determine the difference between the two of them. So the fancy colours are then off that scale of D to Z. And instead here, we're looking for the saturation of that colour. Now it's normally a yellow, brownish, but it can be blue, green, and very, very rarely a red and purple colour. But often you see here with fancy colours, fashion can dictate it. I, for example, was at Tiffany's when Jennifer J-Lo had one of her engagements, and she had a pink diamond ring. My goodness, everybody wanted a pink diamond at the time. So it's really interesting. Again, keep your eyes and ears open to the world out there and the stories of fancy coloured diamonds. Wonderful illustrations here, again, thanks to Ungar and Gemex, of using some coloured diamond jewellery. But just imagine, only one crystal in 10,000 is a fancy colour. So it's incredibly, incredibly rare. If a diamond is going to form a natural colour, it will most readily form into yellow. And that's because this atomic structure will most likely react with nitrogen. The green colour is caused by ground radiation or exposure to radiation. Nothing to worry about. It does happen naturally in the earth. It does mean, however, it's often very difficult to get a natural green certificate, because you'd have to check the process and the forms of which the diamond was formed. Blue is a reaction to boron, and the pinks is a crystal lattice system and is defaulted. For that reason, it's often very difficult when you look at the red diamonds for them to be growing very, very, very big. I've not seen one really much bigger than a 1 carat. And black inclusions tend to be caused by black is caused by inclusions. I do apologise, my neighbour, because of course I'm working from home, my neighbour is mowing the lawn, so we've been fighting with that in the background. Let's move on to cut. Cut being the phenomenon that has the greatest potential to unlock the most amount out of the stone. It's also the one factor that man can influence. It's not just the facet or the shape or the facet arrangement. We need to think of the difficulty of the cut. I've shown you here an illustration that looks proportion, symmetry, and finish. But in theory, that's a standard 57 to 58 facet round brilliant cut diamond. But just imagine how difficult it is to cut the diamond with the crown being perfectly symmetrical over the coulet of the diamond. Can you ensure that each one of those crown facets is perfectly symmetrical? It really, really is an art. But when you see a well-cut diamond and the round and the more symmetry it's got, you get these wonderful characteristics of the brilliance, the fire, and the scintillation. This is to show you the anatomy of a really well-cut diamond, and we measure everything from the girdle. And you can see it's more of a mathematical exercise. And in fact, that's how we first determined the first ideal cut diamond, which was by Marcel Tolkowski. He indeed was a mathematician and an engineer by training, but he worked out proportionately how to optimize the fire and the brilliance. If you imagine normally if you enhance fire, you suppress brilliance and vice versa. So he worked out the optimum levels of both of them. There are now several different ideal cut proportions that you'll see, but I also think it's important to remember that diamonds are beautiful with a whole range of characteristics. And I always ask people to look with their eyes and their brains and their hearts when they're looking at a diamond. But a well-proportioned diamond will ensure that the light travels through and travels out to maximize that return. And if not, what you get with a stone that isn't cut deeply enough is what we call a fisheye. Now you might think, well, now we know so much about diamonds, why on earth would you cut a diamond like that? Well, it actually may look bigger. If you imagine, say, a pave setting, the stones may look that little bit bigger because they're wider. Sometimes a diamond can be too deep and the light, as you can see, is lost out of the bottom, causing a nail head. Again, why would we do that? Well, it may be to conserve that little bit of weight. Now, although this is quite an exaggerated example here, you may think at crucial points such as half a carat and 1 carat, you may think, well, hang on, if we could conserve a little bit of weight, it keeps the value. So that's why it's always important to check with a certificate of the quality of the cut or a diamond grade or a gemologist. Just to show you some shapes here, we've got the round brilliant, which is historically the most popular. It's got the most amount of symmetry. It gives you the most amount of sparkle. But you can also put that facet arrangement onto different fancy cut shapes. So here we've got an oval or a pear shape. And the marquise would be another example. Now here you can see it's a beautiful stone, but just be careful because where those proportions have been extended, you may see a phenomenon which is called a bow tie, and that's where you get just that little bit of darkness in the middle of the stone. It shows you why we often also facet a stone specifically for its shape. And this example would be an emerald. An emerald cut stone was designed for an emerald to show off the body colour. It's used a lot in diamonds because of the amazing appearance that you also get. But you do get those gorgeous cut corners that you would see in an emerald, but it gives you that lovely sort of deco shape. Just want to finish off with some things that people ask me a lot of when we're looking at grading, and that's the girdle. That's the widest point of the stone, providing protection to the edge. You need this to ensure that the diamond, it needs to be of a certain thickness, ideally sort of from thin to medium. You don't want it to lose brilliance, but you don't want it to be too small that it becomes vulnerable. Another property is fluorescence. Now, diamonds will naturally fluoresce because those that have been exhibited and those that have been exposed to ground radiation will exhibit this fluorescence. And this is when the incident light is of a shorter wavelength and higher energy, and you see that emission of this colour. The great thing about fluorescence is it can be quite diagnostic. If you were to put a piece of jewellery under the UV light, you would want a different response by those different gemstones, and I've given you a couple of examples here. Now, some people are concerned about it, but we tend to say that if it's up to about medium, it should have a negligible impact on the cost. A fascinating phenomenon of some diamonds is phosphorescence. So that's when the light source has been removed, but the emission of the light continues. Fantastic example here is the Hope diamond, which has got this amazing bright red phosphorescence. We think this is partly why there are these conspiracy theories, or the Hope diamond was unlucky, because we think of red and we think of an alarm. But it's very much a fingerprint of the Hope diamond. A hot topic at the moment is laboratory grown diamonds. And in fact, I'm going to be doing probably another incomplete presentation on laboratory grown diamonds. I'm working with a wonderful young lady at the moment, Joanna Park-Tonks, who's got her own brand called Chelsea Rocks. And she's taking a really interesting position on laboratory grown diamonds. So again, I put it into context of what I said earlier, but we need to be aware of them, especially because as a gemologist, we cannot tell the difference with the naked eye. We need specialist equipment. And so let's have a look at how they're formed. Well, their formation follows, although it's not in natural conditions, it follows natural processes. High temperature, high pressure again, or by carbon vapor disposition, which is a more modern method. As I say, the most important thing is you need to ensure there's the right material and the right understanding to detect. And of course, there has to be the full disclosure. I'm working with a fantastic group of people at the Diamond Bourse, and we are providing a system of support and education on this topic. So there'll be lots more information to come out on this. But again, it's about traceability. And one of the ways in which we can prove the authentic journey of a natural stone is through laser inscriptions. And I've given you examples here from Forevermark. Indeed, their name is called Forevermark because of the permanence of the identity on the stone. But the inscriptions are so small that they don't affect the clarity grading of the stone at all. And it's for that reason that we want additional context for diamonds. We want to think about, for example, certificates. So that is the independent grading of a gemstone. So if I were a retailer, I couldn't grade a stone. You'd have to have that separation. So always think, though, when you're using a certificate, think that they're used for modern gemstones, for modern diamonds, and always try and romance as well. Give them the credibility that they deserve. Check that the certificate is in date, but also make sure that you're using and explaining and understanding all of those factors. One final point to just think about. So diamonds are incredible. They have all these amazing properties. But there's one thing that we maybe don't like as much, and that is they attract grease and repel water. Now, this is fantastic when we are sourcing diamonds, because I've shown you here a grease belt that the diamond ore passes over. It goes on upside down. The diamonds stick to the grease belt, and the ore falls away. However, when we're wearing them, soap studs will stay on the stone and the water rinses off. So it is really important that you think about keeping your diamonds clean. So you want to, as a retailer, offer this resource to your customers. Teach people how to clean their jewellery at home, or sell them a repair kit. Make sure they're not using good gin, because that is a waste of it. But fairy liquid, soft toothbrush, or use your own cleaner. Invite people back to be able to welcome you back into the store and to keep the dialogue going. So I'm just going to finish off pointing you to some resources. That's all I want to talk about today. We are pretty much on time with a few questions. I sort of raced through that, but there's quite a lot of information. Now, the NAJ is really where to go to direct yourselves to other learning opportunities. And there's a wonderful hashtag campaign, Support Your Local Jeweller. Check out Jewellery Outlook. Their webinars are global and they are phenomenal. I listened to one the other day on diamond pricing. Oh, it just blew my mind. I learned so much. It was fantastic. Kerry Gregory, you've got Eric Enns who's joined in today. A couple of books to show you. One of my favourite is Diamond Grading ABC. That's got some fantastic charts in it, really helps you put all of the 4 C's into context. But another one, Marion Fowler's Adventures of a Hope Diamond, I'm just going to show you that one. That first chapter in there, it's really romantic, but it really helps understand the formation of a diamond. It's excellent. So I'll take some questions in a moment. In the meantime, I promised you an update from Rainbow Gems. And this was Hannah Buckle. Now, Hannah has a creative agency, and what she's offering to do now is to work throughout April, and she will take and create all sorts of images. So I'm going to shout out to the suppliers to get in contact with her, but she will take these images and she will create a couple of campaigns. First of all, a Rainbow Gems Challenge, which is about creating some competitions. This is a great way for people to have some dialogue with their customers. Maybe do something on blogging and some introduction. I'll help out with the content for this for May, and then how to interact and to talk with customers. So she will give you all the expertise that she can. So that is her email address. If you speak to me as well, we'll talk about how we can develop this campaign a little bit more. Okay, so phew, just under 30 minutes. That is the Q&A. So are there any questions out there? Let me have a look. Where are we? Q&A, let's see. I saw somebody raise their hand part of the way through. So where are they? Guys, have you any questions? Can't think I've answered everything for you. Anything at all? Any feedback on that? How was that? Let me check I'm looking at the questions right. There was somebody that raised their hand, so I'm conscious that I need to speak to him. There we are. What are the common inclusions in a black diamond, Stuart? Well, the answer is that the inclusions are the formation of the black diamond. I think it's the relative growth conditions that are around it. Don't think that's the perfect answer. So let me get to find out properly. Find out properly. Perhaps Eric Ems could come in. Maybe he's got a more intelligent question for that. Are your YouTuber videos available to the general public? That's from a question from David. They're not at the moment, David. They're very much trade-based, but I will be actually, certainly for retailers, I will be coming later on in the year with some specifically B2C type communications. So, I mean, you can access them at any time, but I think we do need to work on developing that a little bit more. Joanna, thank you. I'm glad you've liked it. Okay, I'm conscious of time. I'm going to when diamond grays. When does because this is a good question. Does consumers see colour in a ring? Don't know if the ring's any different, but what I would say is that the most human eyes begin to saturate the colour from about an HI. Technically, the colour in a diamond is visible from a G coloured diamond onwards. But as again, we all do see this colour differently. That's why we have to have the master stones. Okay, some more questions coming in. Oh, thank you, Howard. I'm glad you liked it. That's really, really good. Yeah. It has just been fantastic. I love seeing all the industry coming together. And as I say, there are people out there who are more qualified gemologists than me, but what I wanted to do was pick up the essence of what I think is important to connect other people. So that's great. Right, guys, I'm going to let you all get back to your Easters. The sun is shining out there. It's a little bit colder. I'll see you all again on Thursday through the NAJ, and I'll see you at the same time here next week. Stay safe, everybody. Take care.